Gary Breen's with us. Evening, Gary.
Good evening, guys.
Did you catch any of England tonight?
I saw a couple of the goals and they look devastating on the counter attack. They're so quick, they're so incisive. They're the modern day European power, I think, at the moment. Them and France. I think the old guys like Spain, Italy, Holland, Germany are in a period of transition, and I don't think they'd be able to cope with their power and pace.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's usually you'd be on much earlier when we're talking about the football. I know you were saying to JP you're not overly keen to get into the ins and outs of this on the national airwaves. But I'm sure what you can certainly agree with is that this thing has become the most ridiculous distraction. Mick McCarthy today literally had to talk about the potential of fans bringing a load of tennis balls to the match tomorrow and chucking them onto the pitch in protest at what's going on. The FAI have tried to say that this is all part of a plan, the move of John Delaney to Executive Vice President, and that there's been long in the planning. But you look at the timing, you look at the controversy it's created. There is no way this is part of a plan, and Mick McCarthy will not be thanking anyone in the FAI for this.
No, he won't be, and it is a distraction in terms of that, in terms of the questions having to be answered. But it won't be in terms of his focus with a squad, and I can guarantee it will be of no concern to the players. All they'll be focusing on is getting a good performance in. All that stuff can take care of themselves. Them players will just want to put a marker down for staying in the team, improving on what's been a wretched 2018, a new manager, new start. That's only their mindset will be. The reason I don't really want to really give any opinion on these Delaney is because I'm not really educated enough to know exactly what's going on in terms of, listen, I'm seeing the reaction now. The timing's dreadful again. And of course, on the back of the Roy Keane, Harry Arter, Declan Rice, and now this again, it's just too much. I just want to focus to go back on the team where listen, there's a big enough job there in itself. We were, certainly Kieran and I'm not sure, Dan, we were inclined to give the team a bit of a free pass, really, for Saturday evening, given the conditions, the pitch, the wind, Mick McCarthy's first game. Did you come away disheartened, or was it just one of those nights? I wasn't disheartened. I wouldn't exactly give them a free pass because I would expect them to perform better than they did. And the conditions, the pitch were the same for their players. They seemed like they weren't too bad about it. But I am also of the mindset, I've been in scenarios before where you've got nothing really to gain. It's all to lose. You just got to go in and do a job. And I've no doubt in my mind, the team talked straight away, and Mick and the players have suggested it was something to that was, listen, 3 points and then let's just get out of here, and they've managed to get the 3 points.
Mick McCarthy said afterwards he didn't feel Doherty and Coleman worked well on the right hand side. What did you make of that partnership?
I didn't think it did work particularly well, but I don't think that's something we should just throw out the window now. I think it can work well. But I think ultimately the problem you had is that, say for someone like Doherty, he's used to operating all down that flank for Wolves in his own space. He's never going to get anyone underlapping him, overlapping him. And obviously our captain, that's his strength, bombing on. But I think too often in doing so, he actually blocked the areas that Matt Doherty wants to play in. And if you think about the way that Doherty has excelled in the Premier League this year, more often than not, he gets the ball, he looked to play into his centre forward, pass and follow. The centre forward look after the ball, or he's certainly got a pass into his advanced midfielder. And at times, not only Seamus Coleman was running in and blocking that, but Maguire didn't hold the ball up well enough for international football. McGoldrick at times at 10 was too deep, certainly in that first half. So I think there's a culmination of why, and certainly a reason why he didn't perform as well as he's done. The caveat to that as well is that no matter how much we work on it, it's not going to look as fluid as it does for Wolves because of the system, because of the fact that Nuno has worked with them for 2 years now, day in, day out on the training field. I don't think, and then Mick said, listen, it is still a very different role, but I still think there is a place for both of them in the team on that right side.
I think McGoldrick, almost in a Wes Hoolahan way, was just coming deeper and deeper to try and get in the ball because it wasn't really happening for him.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have said the left side was lighting it up either. I wasn't looking over at Enda Stevens, James McLean thinking, oh, well, there's a well-balanced operating left side. They didn't seem to do very much. No,
but the big debate was Coleman and Doherty are two better Premier League players. Of course, the focus is on that. And yes, and the frustration with McGoldrick certainly at 10 is that you need your leaders, and Mick will look to empower some of them players to say, what are you doing coming so deep? Get back up there. Your midfielders to say, don't be dropping into doing my job. I'll do my job. And in terms of those central midfielders, I know Hendrick got his goal and hopefully that will spur him onto something. I still don't think he dominates as much as he could for a player of his quality. But Hoolahan impressed me, especially his dead ball situations where we've had an over-reliance on Robbie Brady, where at times he's been shoehorned into the team when he's not been fit, just to give us that avenue to serve into Duffy on set pieces. So the very fact that he can do that now is a great alternative. It puts the emphasis now on Robbie Brady to come into the team and contribute out of those set pieces situations. Can he contribute in open play? But he's not alone, and I think this is the challenge that you should have in international football, that someone is there to challenge you, to maybe take your place. I think James McLean's position will change drastically, because if you think about Mick McCarthy and obviously playing centre-half for Mick for all those years, you've got a massive emphasis to squeeze that defence up the pitch, to make sure that you engage with the midfielders and get the team up the pitch. Now, if you think about James McLean, who's been our go-to man for the last couple of seasons, more often than not, it's been on the back of us defending on the 18-yard box and then him using his power and pace to get us up the pitch. Now he'll have a different challenge. He'll have to operate in tight areas because we will be up there. And I'll be fascinated to see if he can deal with it.
Gary, when you mentioned Sean Maguire there, maybe not holding the ball up as well as he could have on Saturday, and I think it was a really frustrating game from him. And I think he said it himself afterwards. Just with the game tomorrow, bigger pitch, different type of surface. Is this still a game for him? Is it Maguire ahead of McGoldrick, or are you suggesting you might tweak it completely for this game?
No, listen, I fully agree with you there. I think this will be a totally different scenario at home. I think the very fact that there was no space for him to run into, which he's so good at, I just made the point that when that does happen, international teams work out who their opponents are, so they'll deny him that space. Any balls into his feet then have to improve. And I think a lot's been made of Robbie Keane going in as a coach and his goal-scoring record that he's had for Ireland. But ultimately, what has been underestimated about Robbie Keane is that he was so good at really battling against big, robust centre-halves and the ball being able to stick. Now, that's not necessarily a technical skill with the ball. It's about using your body well. I'd expect Robbie to work with Maguire on that, because that there's no doubt that needs improving.
Gary, of the four strikers in the squad, the one international goal between them.
Yeah.
And Jeff Hendrick scored the goal the weekend. Before that, we've gone 4 games without scoring. Has that put a huge amount of pressure on these guys coming in now? Because there is that talk of, we'd never replace Robbie Keane. We don't have a natural goal scorer, brought up all the time. And these guys...
I know we all do it as well, but when your manager continually brings it up, so this will be my frustration for, and certainly for any of those guys who have played centre forward, is that, and Mick alluded to it in the build up to this game, he's got to find a system that enables these guys to score, because I don't care, even if we had Robbie Keane in his pomp, he would have struggled to score. So detached was our forward from the rest of the team. So I think all those 4 forwards now will probably be looking at the work that's been done on the training ground, the fact that we're getting midfielders in support, we're getting further up the pitch. And I think they'll be looking and thinking, well, listen, if this team does create chances, how exciting to be potentially the guy who could be on the end of them.
Excuse me, sorry. Thank you. How about Hendrick and Hourihane as a midfield duo then?
I like Hourihane in terms of how he played. I just want to see a bit more personality from him, that's all, because he's in fine form with Villa, goals, assists, at a great stage in his career. New manager comes in and immediately says, listen, I've always liked him, I wanted to sign him. So that should be a massive boost. The frustration for me, when I talk about personality, certainly, and I know that Mick will be bullish about this and demanding that he suddenly starts flexing his muscles a bit, his chest comes out a bit more, was that he put in 3 or 4 brilliant deliveries, and then James McLean asked for the ball off him and he gave it to him in a dead ball situation. And I'm thinking, no, you're doing brilliant. Discard that and put that ball in the box. And that's what I want to see from him now, that confidence. And I have no doubt that a lot of those players will get that from Mick McCarthy. He'll say to him, listen, I'm going to give you the opportunity. I've got massive faith in you. But it's up to you ultimately to prove that you are good enough to play at this level.
I mean, Gary, the type of game, we sort of have an idea what the type of game it will be tomorrow, because we play Georgia so often. And we know the type of team they are, and we know how they can frustrate Ireland. So, like, sometimes you hear players and managers say we need to be aggressive and play on the front foot. But sort of tactically, what does that mean in terms of what approach do you want to see from Ireland in the first 10, 15 minutes tomorrow to maybe address what we've lacked in previous games against Georgia at home?
Well, Dan, even as bad as that game was in Gibraltar, I could see what they were trying to do, and I could see that the failings of our teams in previous seasons was being addressed. I don't think those problems are going to be solved overnight. There's no doubt about it. But ultimately, and as I said earlier, centre-halves have to get the team up the pitch. It's as simple as that. Now, I know at times our defenders have looked vulnerable when they have given space in behind. and people may well start to think, well, I don't really suit them. It doesn't matter. They need to be coached, and they will be coached in terms of getting high up the pitch, good body shape so they can read situations in behind. But by getting the team up the pitch, we will be on the front foot. We will have our midfielders getting in the face of the Georgians. They won't be dominating possession like they did last time in Dublin, which was an embarrassment. And that's not condescending to them. I would say that to any team who comes to Dublin. I think it always used to be, regardless of the fact that we had a better team. Again, not being disrespectful. It's obvious we had better players. Yeah. But we didn't allow anyone to dictate. We're in their face. We try to make it that Dublin and Lansdowne before the Aviva now, that the crowd played their part, that they made that environment. The energy was got there, and we made it difficult. But certainly when you've seen the likes of Austria, Wales, Denmark, of course, and Serbia coming, they've come to Dublin and actually enjoyed it, as did the Georgians, who probably went away thinking they were hard done by our kind of fortuitous 1-0 win. Fortuitous, sorry.
About 30 seconds left. I presume you're predicting an Irish win, but like, I don't know, these still feel sticky enough to me. Like 1-2-0, fine, get out of there, no?
Well, I would take 2-0 all day long.
Yeah, absolutely.
1-0, would you take 1-0?
I'd take 3 points at this stage because it's a work in progress. This team doesn't go from how low they were to suddenly being what we want them to be again, and a team in the philosophy of Irish teams, front foot, aggressive, making it difficult. That don't happen overnight. But having said that, as bad as that performance was on Saturday, we can get back to what we are about quicker than that performance suggests.
Okay. Listen, appreciate your time as always. Thanks a million.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.